I wonder how many problems could be solved if we could just learn to talk to each other and learn to talk to each other in a way that's productive and not divisive. I thought about this quote from Isaac Newton, and today's video is going to be for those of you who are willing to think a little bit before you react to the video. It's always surprising to me that I post a video that's 15 minutes long, and within 45 seconds I have 25 comments. Clearly no one has had time to actually watch the video to comment on it, but I would just ask that maybe you watch the video today. I'm going to talk about two subjects specifically that aren't going to seem like they're tied together, but at the end, I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to think about it critically before you answer it. Now, even though Venezuela is not on the headlines now, there are still things going on behind the scenes. They haven't given up on this, they meaning the power brokers in D.C. that are fuming because they didn't get their way. They thought they had an easy patsy here because they're bullies. Bullies like to hit people that don't hit back. Anyone who hits back, bullies just move on to the next easiest target. Now, knowing this, the current ambassador, for lack of a better term, I guess, Mr. Bolton, has been tweeting to Vladimir Padrino. He is the leader of the military in Venezuela, attempting to coerce and threaten him with some type of judicial outcome if something were to happen in Venezuela. The media has picked up this fake narrative about the current leader of our country getting bored, quote unquote, with Venezuela. Not so much. This was something that was at least perceived to be by him low-hanging fruit, an easy win, and it's been anything but. I've called this the greatest geopolitical miscalculation in our history, and it's turning out to be. Now, here's where we are going to kind of change gears. Earlier, I said, if only we could learn to talk to each other. This country is very polarized right now. You're either this or you're that. You're A or you're B. You're R or you're D. Those are the only two things. Our government, not to invoke Admiral Stockdale here, is in a state of gridlock because of this R-D paradigm. Everything is, we're not going to do this because of the partisan concern of that. D thinks this, so we as R have to think that kind of crap, when they're supposed to be representing the people of this country, not their parties. Last time I checked, I mean, at this point, looking at our government, and this is an honest question I would like an answer to from my audience. Why don't we just run parties? Forget the name of the person being president or whatever. Just say, okay, we have R and D, just go and pull the lever for whichever party you want, and then after we decide what party wins, then let them decide who the actual person is that's going to go do the bidding of that party. Because does it really matter at this point who the actual human being is that is being controlled by the R or the D? No, it doesn't. It clearly does not. Now, I know this is going to seem like a very strange place to go from there. This is Kim Iverson. I've talked about her before. This is a video from a long time ago. She used to be a radio personality, and she had a call-in radio show across the country. Some of you might have heard of it. It was called Your Time with Kim Iverson, and this is her history. This is where she comes from. Now, this particular segment is a 2-minute segment. I'm going to speed it up 1.25 so we can get through it quick, where she gives advice to a young man asking to get out of the friend zone. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, what is this schizophrenic thing that McKee is doing? But trust me on this. What this shows is that these people that you call your enemy, that you think are on the other side of the fence, really have a lot more in common with you than you think they do. So let's go ahead and play this real quick.
For being here tonight. If you want to email me, you can, kim@yourtimewithkim.com. But I did get an email, which is very common in my inbox. This one was from a guy named Gabe. Gabe says he's interested in a woman, yet he always seems to land in the friend zone. This is, like I said, a common question I get. Lots of men want to know, how do I get out of the friend zone? I have some news. You can't. You cannot get out of the friend zone once you're in the friend zone. The trick is never to land in it in the beginning, okay? And there's a way. It's systematic. And this is just so simple. If you just think about it, it is the easiest thing you could do, and you'll never land in the friend zone. All you have to do is don't become her friend. Don't be a buddy. Don't start asking her about her life and who she's dating and what's going on, because once she starts talking to you about another man, you have landed in the friend zone. That's how you know. You're firmly there the minute she starts talking about another man. But all you have to do, when you meet a woman and you like her, you think she's cute, you might not even like her yet. You don't know. See, this is what the mistake men make, is they'll say, well, I don't know if I like her, so I want to get to know her before I ask her on a date and invest in her. Wrong way to go about it. The way to do it is invest early. Take her on a date. It's just coffee. Take her for a drink, something simple. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money, but at least ask her out. Don't say, hey, let's get together sometime. That makes me think we're just friends. Instead, say, I would love to take you to this new coffee shop I've discovered the other day. Would you please join me Saturday at 10 a.m.? Then she knows firmly that this is a date. This is more than just, hey, let's hang out. I want to talk to you about my love life. Once you're in it, there's really no way to get out of it. I mean, there's a 1% chance. I could waste my time telling you, because it's only 1% that you're even going to potentially get out of it. Okay, here it is. You stop being her friend. Once you're friends with her, kind of become a jerk a little bit, Don't let her talk to you about her life. Don't help her move. Don't do all those chummy things that friends do for girls. Instead, just back off, be busy. Don't give her the time of day, and then eventually she'll come around. Maybe it's a 1% chance. Most women are just going to write you off and think you're a jerk. But it's a 1% chance she turns around and says, wait, but I have feelings for you. Make a pact with yourself that you're going to move forward and ask women out on dates. Stop being a pansy. That's my...
Did you catch that at the end there? Don't be a pansy. That's her advice to this guy. Now, total agreement. 100% completely total agreement. But can you imagine this being the advice in modern day social, progressive, or liberal circles? They'd lose their mind if you said something like that to a guy. But here you go. Here's a progressive, a staunch progressive. If you've ever gone to her channel, she's very proud of it. She's got a shirt that has a superhero on it, says I'm super progressive, and she owns it. But that doesn't mean she's your enemy. And as the father of 2 daughters, that every man in this country could hear that advice. Stop being a pansy. Real quick, that advice, does that come from a conservative or does that come from a liberal? See, this is what I talk about, building bridges, when you actually learn to talk to people and understand that. And to reaffirm it, this is only this last week. Now here, she's talking about an entirely different subject. Some Democratic candidates are more dangerous than Trump is the title of this, and I want you to listen to what she says here.
Believe the narrative's hook, line, and sinker. We've seen this. We've seen with Elizabeth Warren. Her foreign policy is terrible. She believes the narratives every single time. The woman has a lot of great domestic policy ideas. Many of them are Bernie Sanders ideas that she's taken. Some of them are her own and new. But when it comes to foreign policy, she just says exactly what the narrative is. And she would absolutely, if she was sitting in the Oval Office, would surround herself with Obama and Clinton era war hawks and would absolutely be marching us into conflict. She would just say, well, what do I need to do? And she would trust the foreign policy advisors. And you know what? Thank goodness Trump doesn't. Thank goodness he kind of listens to Bolton and listens to Pompeo and listens to people and then says, you know what? I'm just going to do what I want. I'm going to have a bromance with Kim Jong-un. When it comes to Venezuela, what did we see recently? Trump said he lost interest. Wow. Okay. Not bad. All right, great. You lost interest. So he had all of these advisors around him saying, we need to topple the Venezuelan government. We need to get Maduro out of there. We need to get Guaido in. And Trump was going along with it for a little bit and did the sanction thing and probably meddled with their electrical grid, which caused the blackouts. But at the end of the day, saw, you know what? I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a lot of support for this Guaido guy. So lost interest, moved on. How many other candidates, Democratic candidates today, would have moved on from that? How many would have moved on? How many other Republicans would have moved on? Same thing now with Syria. Syria is another example of this. So many said, oh, well, we've got to get Bashar al-Assad out of there. What did Trump do? He did a few things here and there. But at the end of the day, he says, you know what? The terrorists are gone. We got rid of the terrorists. We defeated the terrorists. So that's it. No more talk really of Syria. I guess Bashar al-Assad won, and Trump has moved on to the next thing. So far, those are three potential conflicts that we absolutely could have been in, which we likely would have been in had Hillary Clinton been president. Hillary Clinton would have been president. We would already be at war. We would have been marched in Syria for sure, North Korea very possibly, and Venezuela for sure. We would have.
Does that sound like your version, meaning those of you way over on the ultra right that are in so much support of our current leader, does that sound like your enemy? Does this sound like someone who is against what you believe? Now, real quick, the question. If you had a son and he could grow up to be one of these two men, which one of these two men would you have your son grow up to be? I think we can all pretty much say we know who we would rather have our sons grow up to be. Somebody who's just going to be a puppet like the guy on the right, a pansy, or someone who knows how to stand up, have a real job, work your ass off, represent your people, and in the face of an undescribable amount of pressure from the most powerful nation that ever was on the planet, stand firm. Stand with your beliefs. They've tried to kill the man on the left. The guy on the right has had nothing but DC government gravy given to him his whole life. And that's what brings me back to this. You are being led to believe that there is a group of people in this world that are your enemies that are not. They sometimes have been associated with the D party. Sometimes they've been associated with people south of our southern border. If we could only learn to talk to each other, understand what each other really believes, and ignore these, and I hate to say it, I don't know. You know what? I don't hate to say it. I absolutely don't hate to say it. I hate the fact that we have been manipulated into believing that we have to vote R, we have to vote D. Those are our only two choices. And all of this, I have to hold my nose and do this because the other person over there is just too bad. When really the other person over there, these people that you think you're voting against, are not your enemy. That's what I wanted today's video to be about. Learning that we have been put at each other's throats for no good reason. And the only way to fix this is to build bridges. Like, share, subscribe.